Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with those that you love doing them with. This is episode 2 tonight, Thursday night of On the Other Hand, a little spin-off of The Devil's Advocate. We got 2 returning guests to the channel in the wonderful Gavin Brains McLeod and the wonderful Pete. Both of them, I'm not sure they worked together before, being on the screen together at the same time. But this On the Other Hand thing is an attempt to try to bring on people that may or may not disagree. And I don't know what their takes are on the certain questions that we're going to be answering. But the focus tonight is, first of all, just to understand where they stand right now on Ange. Obviously, the whole process of getting through a double week of without football can be frustrating. But when you're on the back of a terrible result, the Twitter sphere is going mental again. People arguing, people fighting over whether you should be patient, whether or not there needs to be adaptations, whether we're missing certain players that are going to be the key ingredient, whether it's all about time anyway. We're going to find out how Gavin and Pete feel about it before, on top of that, we're then going to talk about what's needed specifically. We're going to look for who is the best number 6 at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment and figure out a few other things that will pop up, no doubt, in the show. Gavin, how you doing, mate? Welcome back.
Yeah, man. I watch the show all the time, basically. Like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so kind of versed in everything Spurs Talk Show and Butler wise. It's an interesting time. It's like I think it's quite a good time to probably like take stock and see where we're at. You know what I mean? I think it's also a divisive time as well. It's always going to be in it. It's like you get 7-8 months in, and all of a sudden you can't have an opinion, and you can't possibly even look potentially an alternate opinion, and then it's kind of like stop police area, you know. And it's like, look, calm down, you know.
Yeah, so I think that's the tricky part of being 7 months in, is that no opinion is really got, like, if you're saying like he's got to change, well, you haven't really given him enough chance to have that opinion be too solid. And if you're saying be patient, well, you've still seen enough to have enough of the other side. There's enough strength in both opinions because neither of them are particularly well founded yet, I think. But we're going to find out how you guys feel about it. Pete, how you doing, mate? Welcome back.
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. All right, Thursday night, you know. Oh, Wednesday night.
Yeah,
just gained a day in my life.
Yeah. Cracking on, mate.
It's lost a long
back. Yeah, a long week. Let's just quickly say hello to a few people in the chat, and then we'll get straight into it. Mia's in the house. Good to see you, my friend, my donut mate. How are you? Good to see you. Sess's Gammy Hammy. This is the best show on at 8 p.m. since the Bill. Not even sure if it was on at 8 p.m. Appreciate that. Good to see you, mate. Foggy Martin's in the house. Justin Glazer, effing hell. Rakdos Madness. Good to see you, Alan. How you doing, mate? Phil's in the house as well. So as is Tot Spurs, Tom Martin, Dragon D's nuts. Good to see you. Spurs forever. You think in the summer we get one starting wide player doing along with Werner, Edison maybe, but I think Newcastle still sell Bruno, and we'll go all out for Edison plus Manu will be after him with Dan Ashworth there. There's lots to break down in that one, mate. We're gonna talk about that at some point in the show as well. What do we need and what do those players look like? Good evening, Sean. Good to see you, Spurs GC TV, Spurs forever. Justin, Futures Bright's in the house as always. Alex Ander Valoris is in the house, and also Chris Beresford. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Look, here we go. Last one out, or first one in. Last one in. Honest opinion is that Ange is not the elite manager we had hoped for. New manager bounce has ended. Teams seemingly worked us out. Needs to change things up and ensure his stubbornness. Brains, I'll start with you, mate. Where are you at with Ange Ball at the moment? How confident are you in it?
I think there's another message to that. He didn't finish. He said his stubbornness is not his undoing.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I was going to say it didn't make sense until I saw the last bit. Perfect. Yeah. Where are you at, Gavin?
It's an interesting place to be at. Like, there's a lot of good. There's so much good. And, you know, overall, like, I'm enjoying seeing, like, him. Once things are going sweet and smooth, I'm really, like, positive on the potential, you know? Like, if this first team all played at their potential and weren't dealing with like injuries, and then coming back from injuries, you have one good game, one bad game, and then you're going through a confidence thing. You can see a lot of players are going through that. Matters is nowhere near back to, but he will just get there. Like certain players will just get there. Basuma, I don't know what's going on there. Like, so all of this stuff that happens is like natural stuff that you go through in a season. And it's important not to let these things flavor how Ange is doing. But then you can't just go, oh, it's all good, And I have started to have annoyances in the kind of like stubbornness of, look, we're 2-0 down. Maybe I should do something. No, let's just wait. Like, it's like, I get that you're not trying to be reactive, but this is the time, So like, I also think there's a bunch of other things that are at play. Like, I don't know if his team's good enough. I don't know if the defensive team is a good enough team to organize our players at the back. I just don't think so. Like, we're doing well. We do amazingly well with Mickey van de Ven, and I think that plasters over some real horrible things. Like, losing goals from set pieces was a massive problem. And did we see it really get solved? No, teams just didn't really score like that against us. But is it a long-term problem? It could be. So is his team who deal with it the right team? That is an Ange style. He's a delegator. He's like Arteta comes in at Arsenal, and you better believe, with the type of Arteta ego, he wants to have a say in every single department. He's like that. Pep, no one's doing anything in City's whole structure without Pep having a say. Same with Klopp. Ange isn't like that. He's a delegator. He's also not a man manager. He's not coming in going, I'm gonna go and put an arm around Basuma and tell him to buck up his ideas and stop hacking people down, stop talking back to. He said, I'm not going to baby players. So he is very much a kind of, look, I'm an overseer. I come up with a style. I come up with a philosophy, and then I put it to my teams. And then I build the players. I build the team that we need to have, and then I build the confidence in getting the players to play that way. But I feel like, I think I'm just a believer in, like, so he's basically more of a manager than a coach. But I fully believe that players need coaches. They need that positive reinforcement, and they need someone to be strong with them. Like, don't do that. And then that's amazing. I think humans, as long as footballers are humans, you need that kind of thing. So I do see little bits of flaws like that, but that's not to say that he couldn't make this work. I still think, give him the right players, give him like the right kind of, it's not just the right players, it's the squad numbers, so that if something is going wrong with a certain player, he can take him out, and the player who's the other side of him waiting to get in is amazing, Yeah. So I just think we've unfortunately went through not having the best Bentancur, not having the best Basuma, like losing the best of our players. Kulu's not been himself. Matters isn't himself.
So you think that if we hadn't gone through the injury crisis, do you think that our form would have continued in the same vein the first 10 games started?
Yeah, I mean, not to say that then we would just keep winning all the next 10 games, because I think there is an adaptation just in general. Every single team, when they're watching what Spurs are doing, their technical staff are going in and working on how to play Spurs for a week before the game. So people just figure out, okay, well, this is any good coach looks at another coach's style and goes, this is what they're doing. But look at the gaps, look at the mistakes. Look at that player there. Look how he kind of risks on the right side turn. Like when we're watching Basuma do this amazing little drop shoulder and go that way. Pressing coordinator is going to say, he does this. Shut all the lane that side. He's just going to drag you into this pressing lane. Shut him that side as well. Don't get too close. Don't go more than 2 yards to Basuma because he's got this turn. And you've seen they don't. They actually come from two angles on him, and he just passes the ball away. So when players have a really good signature thing, other players learn to shut it down. And so I think we're seeing
it's always a game of cat and mouse, isn't it?
Yeah, we're seeing so much adaptation, and I think that maybe this is the one gripe that I think a lot of people are starting to have, and I think it's only natural to have it. that maybe we're not seeing enough adaptation from Ange. But then I can understand why he's not going to all of a sudden go, well, look, a couple of players are really struggling with what we're trying to do. Yeah, let me just change everything. You know what I mean? I can see that he's like, look, I'm trying to build a philosophy. So let's get the philosophy down, regardless of where we finish this season, regardless of how well we do, which is hard for us to hear. But once we get the philosophy of this is how we're going to play down, then we can
you see the adaptations. Yeah.
Yeah. When we,
I
when
hope
we
you're right there, mate. I hope you're right. Pete, let me ask you, mate. I do want your overall take, but one of the things that Gavin spoke on there, and I want to get your take on it. So include this in your answer. He mentioned about the defense, not sure if it's good enough. Of all of the areas in the team that we might think that we're going to see some improvements on this summer, the defense, at least the starting 11, is going to be difficult to improve on. So if the defense isn't good enough and we've already fixed the defense, Pete, is that a big red flag, or do you agree with that in the first place? I don't know.
No, it's a red flag for me. I'll tell you where I started when he got the job. I was like, okay, this man's not managed at a really high level or nothing like that. I was dubious, and then obviously started like a train, and I thought, okay, I'm wrong, but I'm now back to where I started in terms of my opinion on him. I'm not sure.
I was right all along.
Yeah, basically, yeah, and do you know what I mean? Some of them earlier questions are coming back now. In terms of the defense, for me, this is our best back five we've had since probably the Toby Yan player for player since them days. Yeah, so if they and they're not keeping clean sheets. Here we go. Look, I've got one already. So something is widely wrong. I mean, you look at how we defend. It's always last ditch. Everything's last ditch. I mean, we've got Van der Ven, but let's be honest, he's now on his second hamstring injury because he's always rushing back the last minute to put an tackle or block. That's unsustainable for us and him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just like, I've got to the point now where I'm thinking, okay, Ange's come in, he's got his approach. Let's be honest, it's a journey for me. It was always a case of a journey with Ange, with us, and with Ange stepping up to the elite level, i.e. the Premier League. Yeah, so there's two journeys going at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Because he's never done it before. Yeah, so you can't get away from that fact. The only thing I do have an issue with is his sort of stubbornness not to adapt to what's happening, because we've seen it far too often now, week in, week out. Too many teams are getting at us, lower down the table teams. Any team we can get at us, and you think we're standing there watching it. He's watching it. You got to do something, because it's not sustainable. I mean, we bagged Conte. Conte got a lot of grief off us. A, because he was a prick, but B, because he was too stubborn. Never did nothing different. Yeah, it's sort of Ange's at the other end of the spectrum, but it's any extreme on either end is no helpful to us. You've got every manager that stepped into this league has had to adapt. That includes Guardiola, Klopp. They've all adapted to the league. Yeah, for Ange to come in and think, I don't have to do that, for me is an arrogance about him that isn't justified. Now, I like Ange. I really want him to do well. I just think I don't want him to be too stubborn and rigid, thinking this is what we are, mate, and all that crap. The Premier League don't care about that. I mean, this league is brutal. It's what you are, but you'll get found out for that very quickly, and we're starting to see that.
Do you think he's kind of going like, well, look, until I get my 24 players who I can move and so that my tactics can actually come off right, until I get that, should I be changing my strategy?
Well, to be honest, mate, I don't. When you say that, I think, well, what is his players? This is the best team he's ever had in his life.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, people say, Ange needs his players. What's his players? Are we going to raid the SPL? Going to clean out the Celtic team?
I'm not even sure he knows what he's really working with, right? Like, the takeaway from that comment when he said, I don't think Tottenham will ever spend £100 million on a player. I don't really think you need £100 million. I'd rather have two £50 million players.
That worried me. For me, that's a lack of ambition there, because you don't.
He also said in that same thing, he said, but I don't know, maybe we will have £100 million player. I'd love it if we could. Right. So I don't think he really knows what he's working with. I think he's always worked with tight budgets in different markets.
£2-3 million players if he's lucky. Yeah.
Right. But I don't think he's probably, I think there were so many. This is not a criticism of him at all. I just think that he's so honest with that kind of that talking style. that it came across to me a little bit like he's not really sure what Tottenham are going to be able to offer him to help him in the summer.
I'll take what I can get. Type
going to be.
Yeah.
I'll
take what I can get.
Day and age,
100 million.
But with Daniel Levy, you do have to put your foot down, because if you're sort of that malleable to him, he will walk all over you. Yeah, we've seen that with other managers. So he's got to be. But again, it's hard because I really want him to do well, but I am frustrated at the moment with what I'm seeing.
But you know, there is a bit of a, there is. I don't want to be super harsh and say that there's no adaptations. There is a little bit of adaptations. The high press is way better now. As it's gone on through the season, they all do it a lot better. We win the ball up higher. There is a little bit of adaptation. That's not to say that he's changing his style of play. It's just that he's moved it to be less about playing out of the back, in those circles. But then with the strategy of leave
that one up there, Sean.
With the strategy of signing. What strategy of signing certain players in, you can see that there is a thing for youth, right? And so it's like the idea is like spend 15, 20 million and uncover a potential world-class player, which is amazing if it happens. A huge risk if it doesn't happen. Bergvall could be world-class from what we've seen. But in the Prem, he's got to come in and have a season adaptation.
We say that, but we've had opportunities to play youngsters this year when we're in our injury crisis, and he didn't do it.
He doesn't really
in round holes, which really annoyed me. Really, when you're putting him some more.
He doesn't think that that our youth team is. He basically said in a roundabout way, reading between the lines, we might be top of the under-21 league, but we might have a good crop of a good squad of like decent standard players, but we haven't got a conveyor belt of talent, which to me means you don't rate the under-21s.
No, I get that, but when you're putting someone like Emerson Royal at centre back, let's be honest, is a poor player. Yeah, I know he filled in and did a job, but it's not. And you got a centre back there in the academy. Why is it Jurgen Klopp can turn to the academy and give someone a go? Because you never know. Some people step up, some people don't. It'd be nice to see, because I'm not being funny. The drop off from Emerson Royal at centre back to an academy centre back playing, I don't think would have been massive. No. But going to this man here, Derek Smith, doesn't play to keep clean sheets. He plays to score more goals than the opposition. But when that's not working, then you have to do something, because we don't have a Harry Kane. We don't have the firepower. We haven't. Our forward players dropped off a cliff in the last few months. We have little bursts of like 10, 20-minute spells, but overall it's poor. So we're not doing that. So when that's not happening, you've got to go, okay, I'm not doing this at the moment. I need to do something different. Until I can get that sorted out, until I can then boost the firepower available and then go with that again.
Can I ask you guys something? Because I think that to play devil's advocate, or rather on the other hand, right, against Aston Villa, second half especially, we were really, really, really impressive, right? We split them apart. Against Fulham, on a different day, if we take a couple of the chances early, but then you can make Fulham had chances before they scored as well. But I was at the game. It was a disaster, basically. Is there, I think everyone, it's very easy, or it's very, I think it's the same kind of thing with sacking managers and backing managers. Generally speaking, you can't sack your entire team. And sometimes it's just the players that let you down on the day. Now, Wolves at home was a disaster. And I chalked that one up to having a very bad day at the office. But you can't chalk up too many bad days at the office without really finding a bit of a scapegoat. But just to give Ange a breather for a minute, can we also consider that the players were just shit on the day? Because I think most of us would have said that the team he picked was the right team, at least the starting 11 was the right team, right?
Yeah, Sean, as you know, because we talk quite often, these frustrations have been going on for a while. This ain't a knee-jerk reaction to Fulham. What did I say to you after Villa? I said good second half, but I think it was a lot about how poor Villa were and fell apart than how great we were. Because in the first half, we were awful. We didn't have nothing. But I tell you what, that last week was more Spursy than anything. And the thing that's annoyed me most, it's not just about Fulham. It's the whole Kulusevski. That statement Kulusevski put out, that interview, for me was a disgrace. I know some people had a tug over it and all that, but to say we're winning at life and talk about a glorious failure where we got pumped 4-1, for me that says a lot about the mentality of the players, that they're celebrating that, getting smashed all over the gaff by a substandard Chelsea team. Then
you didn't like that, man.
I didn't know. For me, that's a disgrace. Yeah. And then you look at what happened after that. Yeah. Then you see that at Fulham. Is that not Spursy? Yeah. Beat Villa. Then you talk about what a great night we had failing, get smashed by Chelsea, because in the end it was smashing. Yeah. And then they produced that. So, you know what I mean? We're winning at life, but don't worry about winning 3 points. For me, that was
my
total...
takeaway from it was a bit more about the kind of the kind of the energy that the fans are picking up, or the players are picking up from fans. Because it was said at the same day, you had the Emerson Royale thing came out where he was talking about, like, they hated me now they love me, and they've got a song about me. I've never heard anyone sing an Emerson Royale song, but whatever, he might be deluded on that one. But I thought the takeaway from it was a little bit like these players are a little bit overly sensitive to short-term ups and downs from fans, and they should be focusing on their job. Like, I think that you've got to feed off the energy to a degree, but at the same time, you shouldn't be too sensitive to it. That if you lose 2-1 or 4-1 to Chelsea, and you're going out of your way to celebrate the crowd applause, then, and again, Emerson Royale thinking, he took it and he feeds off it. Richarlison doesn't, right? Richarlison's someone that's doesn't like the criticism and stuff, but I just feel like the players are a little bit too open with their feelings about fan engagement, and I think they should try and dilute that kind of.
Sorry. Even talk about the tactics on the night. For me, that night annoyed the life out of me because there was no reason to lose that game. Yeah, we went down to 9 men. For me, if we shut up shop a bit, we wouldn't have lost that game. Yeah, we might have even won it. Could have nicked it. For me, that says more about the team not losing to a Chelsea with 9 men than for what we did, where we camped on the halfway line just waiting for them to eventually work out how to do it. Yeah, it took them long enough, but for me, it all started going downhill from that. Yeah, we had the injuries as well, but that mentality, that was wrong for me, and I wasn't happy on that night either with Ange for that. For me, you just retreat. Liverpool went down to 9 men against us a few weeks prior. They retreated. Yeah, so if Klopp knows what to do, it shows that a man who's won everything in the game, it shows that this is what you should be doing. Yeah, for us to then do what we did, I know people loved it and it was brave and all that. It was stupid. Yeah, because it cost us some players. Yeah. But I think Justin Glazer keeps coming for me. It's all right. Yeah, but you telling me you watch how Chelsea was 9 men, 11. Who said sit on our box? I said retreat a bit. Yeah, don't sit on the halfway line. Yeah, when they got fast players like Sterling, who they eventually got it right. It took them how long to get it right. Yeah, but you telling me if we just were dropped off a bit, yeah, I guarantee we wouldn't have lost that game because they had no idea. They were clueless. Yeah, and even with what we were doing, we nearly took something out of the game. But for me, we would have took a lot more from that game as a group, saying, you know what, we stuck together. We hung in there, we battled, and we didn't lose when we were 2 men down, and that would have give that team a better sort of platform moving forward than what we saw now. Yeah,
I think sometimes you hear like Graham Souness or Roy Keane say, "There's no shame in sitting in when you're a wounded animal that you sit."
You're 2 men down. You're 3 men down. Yeah. To not lose that game, I think would have okay. This Spurs mean business. Yeah, because they lost 2 men and didn't lose a game. Yeah, against in a big North London, East London derby.
When you go 2-0 down, though, like, I mean, I think what's his name? Ange said,
if it's a cup game, if it's a cup game, then by all means, yeah.
But what was the last game you ever remember where a Premier League team went down by 2 men and still got something out of the game? I don't remember.
Nearly Liverpool did against us. We only got a lucky own goal in injury time, or they would have come away with a point. Yeah. So it's margin.
They didn't get anything in the end.
It's margins, Sean. But they deserve something out of that game, to be fair. And they were all over us, even with 9 men. Yeah. But
I think a big part of like the inconsistency and like managing the kind of momentum and the motivation of players is that the great thing when you're trying to build a young squad, because they need the energy to run how he's going to run players in training. You see all the hamstring injuries, so they need youth. They need to be able to like push players to the line.
Fans in the chat already.
But the problem is when you are building a squad like that is that they're super young. Like young players can't sleep at night. They stay on their phones all night long, or they play games, and then the next day they're tired as hell. Young players will win a big game and then think they're gods the next week and not train as hard or not turn up on the day. That's like a classic thing with young players, unless you can look at Klopp, their youth academy and Pep, all their academies, that's with managers who are those overbearing. I need to have a hand in every department because I want any player coming from the youth team to know exactly my style. Whereas again, Ange is a delegator. He's not going and delegating in the youth team and saying any player comes up's got to be. He doesn't believe in it like that way. So I think there's no real reference point of like, you know, when people say, "Oh, look at how Arteta did in the first season, Pep did in the first season." Klopp, you can't reference them with Ange because Arteta won a trophy in the first season. He came off the back of studying with Pep. Pep came in with Bundesliga titles, you know, with La Liga titles. You can't rate, you can't compare, you know. And obviously there was a completely different projects. We are building something. We're trying to get players on the cheap. We're probably going to take on Werner for 17 million. You know, we're not going to go for a tap sober. We're going to try to get the cheaper deal, and then we're going to throw 65 or 40.
You still think that's the case though? I think like you can't. Tottenham, there's this notion. I was on this channel the other day, Hotspur Hood, right? And there was a few Levy out people on there, and the entire chat was Levy out. And you know, me coming in with a different stance went down about as well as some of Pete's comments are going down in the comments. By the way, guys, just for what it's worth, right? This is a respectful channel, so I've timed that guy out, Thomas.
French kiss at a family reunion.
Yeah. Can we all just be nice? Right? We can disagree, but just like attack the argument, not the person, right? Attack the argument, not the person. So Thomas, yeah, you'll come back in a minute, mate. But if you act like that again, bro, then you're gone for good. I was having this chat, right? I feel like there's a bit of a misconception amongst some people in the fan base around what exactly the amount of money that can be spent realistically under the new rules versus revenue, right? And I don't think that Tottenham will ever be able to spend, or I don't think any club will ever be able to spend 300-400 million in a summer unless they have sold 200 million pound worth of players in the same season or the season before to get their numbers in a certain way. But the point I was going to make was, I don't necessarily think that means that Tottenham will forever be spending 40-50 million pound max on players. So I think that in the past 2 years, we've had so much transition and transfer that if Tottenham had gone and bought an 80 million pound striker to replace Harry Kane, or 100 million pounds, say you went and got someone like an Osimhen, just Dreamworld's whatever argument's sake, then you wouldn't have had the money left over to go and do the other bits, and you'd still be playing with terrible square pegs in massive holes, and you might have one of the world's best strikers coming in, but it's unrealistic. Whereas now you've done most of the work, or a lot of it, 70% of it, that maybe now you're still going to have decent budgets, but now you can go out and sprinkle a little bit of stardust in there. I don't know if you agree or disagree, guys.
Yeah, I actually quite agree with the transfer strategy that you're seeing, and things do look a little bit different, like the getting players in early, and it looks like they're. To be honest, you could say that there's a great first team there, regardless of like motivation. And this is a first season for Ange. Like my bottom line with him is that I do feel that he's the right manager, and I'm happy at this point to like see how this transpires, because it is great football, even if it is a tennis game at some points. Like, but it is, you can see that there is a little bit. Johan Lange and the kind of recruitment does look a little bit better, and it does look like we could be, you know, props to Levy, we could be in the right position to get maybe four or five signings, all of like 15 to 35 million, you know, like, so it looks like we could do good bits in the next window and to try build the first and the second team at a higher quality. And then we've also got a lot of players to get out. You know, you can see a lot of players. I think Ange sits there going, I'm going to use this season to see who I don't want around. You know, and there's something about the way he kind of like thinks about his youth academy and how he thinks about certain players, you know, that are in the squad already. Yeah. Like when he has a chance to put someone in at start, and it's like, why this guy's never going to get a chance. He's just never get. It's like, right, then that guy's gone. You know, Solomon Hill. You know, these players, like, just get anyone out who's not played 10 to 15 games this season, because he clearly doesn't agree with him, you know. So I think there is a lot of positivity, but it's just like, for me, it's like, just because there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of really good things happening, we have to concede there's a lot of really good things happening at this club that I'm super positive about. When I see us beat a team, and then the motivation, you know, like that whole thing of we just need to get a favorable result and to be in the top 4. We just need this little thing. No one else is playing. Everyone else loses on a weekend. We just need this 5:30 win, and then we never do it. That's the thing that for me that has to change. Now, is Ange a mentality builder? That's the big question, because we as a club, as a fan base, we're going to have a mentality shift over the next.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the only
this is
way.
what I'm saying. Sorry, this is what I'm saying. And then you see Kulu come out with that about this is winning at life and all that. I'm like, no, this is not. How many other teams do you hear talk like that? Yeah, talk about getting to a Champions League final for the next 5 years. If we talk, some fans keep going on about it. Yeah, it was done. It's gone. Yeah, teams don't talk about their most favorite memorable nights. Getting battered 4-1. Yeah, that's not winning at life. Yeah, winning at life is someone like Gerard Piqué, who's won everything at football and then gets to and then goes home and has sex with Shakira. That's winning at life. Yeah, I'm more interested in winning 3 points. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, and winning trophies. That's what you call. I mean, quick say I missed Kulu's point totally. No, I didn't. It's a weak mentality. Yeah, and then you look at the performances that we see, especially from him lately. Yeah, everything's just flaky. Yeah, you beat Villa 4-0. Okay, great. Yeah. You go to the next game.
So that's the question then, Pete, right? So,
and then what happens? That's where the mentality's got to be. Yeah, that's when you go, right, we've done that. We've done the hard bit. Now we've got to do these lot. Yeah, we cannot lose this game. And to not turn up in that manner. How many times do we see that? I remember under Conte, we beat City away and then go and lose to Burnley. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And there's different players. There's a lot of different players.
I mean. So
they can't keep playing the same players. So that's the DNA.
Like a voodoo or like a hex over the football club, because we've got 20 different players in the squad since that Man City.
Well, I'll be honest, the mentality of the club comes from the top down. So the owners don't chase trophies and not really push. That's not really their high priority. It's more of a revenue and that sort of thing. Yeah. So
do you really think Brendan Johnson could have said he'd get out of bed and go, I'm not going to bother about a trophy, or I'm not really going to care because
I don't. I just, there's winners, there's people who are winners and there's people who are not, who have the mentality to succeed. They might get out, I'll do my best, but are they really giving it all their best? Do you know what I mean? Do they put personal barriers up themselves? I don't know. I don't know these people, but I can only judge by what I see. Like when you look at what they can do, I mean, Brendan Johnson's different. He's only a youngster and he's in a different thing. But like Kulu, I mean, his performances lately are dropping off a cliff. I mean, if he wants to say that in the summer, or say that when you're playing well. When you're not, don't be saying that shit. I mean, I don't want to hear it anyway because we're talking about losing a game. Yeah, for me, that's just a no. Do talk about how you beat a team. Yeah, that you shouldn't. You won a game you probably shouldn't have won against a better team, and then talk about it. Then that's something to be proud of, but not losing to Chelsea 4-1 because we stuck to the way we played and all that sort of crap.
So on that basis, then the Fulham. Oh, go on, Brian. Sorry, man.
If a manager, because a manager is very much responsible for bringing a DNA, a style of play, and if you are bringing a style of play, I think behind that and propping up a style of play, the foundations of your ideology is going to be a mentality. Because what style of play matters if there's no mentality behind. Who cares about playing 10 games in a row winning? Like that doesn't matter. Like, and your mentality should always be, when everyone starts going, oh, actually Spurs could do something this season. Players, all their mentality should have been, all of that's gone. Like nothing like that. Nothing is getting in. All we are doing is we're winning every game. Like next game, focus. It's a different team. What we do is we know how City play. We know how the big teams come on us. And actually that's what this style kind of is good against, because it can like break through the lines and then you can counterattack. But we lose this season. We've lost to 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th, and 12th. And I'd love to see the stats on how many seasons in a row that we actually do that. That sometimes we have, how many seasons in a row have we beat City or got great results against City? Because mentally, players think that's a free hit. Players play better in those games because they think, we should get battered here anyway. So let's just go for it. And it's like, well, look, that's how you can play. Why not go for it all the time? And it's a manager's job to be able to lift. Now, everyone said, and we've seen footage of it, he is a great motivator. We know it. Sometimes you see them come out in second halves and you get that 20 minutes and you get those results. But he's got to do it through a whole season. He's got to manage their youth. He's got to manage the low points. after they win a big game, there shouldn't be any conversations after games, especially if you lose games like that Chelsea game. There shouldn't be any real big conversations after you win 4-0. It should all just be like, remember,
Ange's a winner though, isn't he? Brains, right? Like Ange,
Ange's a winner.
surely Ange is, if anyone is going to be able to instill the mentality shift.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of people's comments that are saying things like, you know, he wants, I think I forget the comment here. I think he said maybe Ange is coming in with, you know, and he wants them to suffer sort of losses to know the difference or whatever, but he's not going to change until he gets his system embedded. I actually agree with you that there's two, to Pete's point earlier, there's two battles or two journeys, one for the football club, one for the manager. But I think there's also two sort of projects almost. One of them is to get Tottenham up the league table and to be successful. The other one is to get Tottenham believing in themselves, that they are capable of winning. And also, to your point, I think, Brains, you hit the adjective on the head, right? Focus. I think that's it. I'm not even sure it's an adjective, but focus, right? We go from we celebrate a win and then we put our feet up for a few days and we sort of ride that wave and then we get hit in the face with the next one. So,
and it's happened all this whole season long. We're losing or we're putting in bad performances to the teams that we should roll over. So you can tell that it is a mentality problem. And obviously, I'm not putting this all in. No, I'm saying that's what a big problem looks like to me. If you just look at the teams we're battering as the bottom ones, and we're doing really well against the top ones. The middle to below us, we're struggling against. So for me, that means you have the talent to beat the top teams. You have the talent to beat the bottom ones easy, but you do not have the belief to roll over the teams who are actually going to come in and sit, and they're going to go man for man. They're going to hit you. They're going to go hard. We just got a result off Man City. We're not going to do that today, you know. So that's the thing for me. It's like it's quite clearly a belief thing. It's quite clearly taking the eye off the ball, and that's what he's got the next season, the end of this season, and the next season to really hone in. Because when you hear Liverpool players when they're about to come to the end of a season, like, all of them refusing to talk about winning the league. All of them refusing to talk about wins or losses. They just won't talk about it. Every time that a mic gets put in their face, because the Klopp told them that season, do not talk about anything. Talking in the mic just gives opportunities for this type of stuff where we're going, you should never have said that. What's wrong with you? You know, now when you're in a bad run, we can see your mentality as a problem. So that's what I'm saying. Don't ever talk. Just put your work behind it. Put your talent and your skill. Let that talk. And that's what I'd like to see from Ange, because he is that guy. He doesn't want to talk, and he gives things in pressers that sometimes...
He hates press conferences, mate.
He hates it.
He hates them. You can see the pain on his face when he walks in there. He's like, oh, not this again. He can't wait to get out, you know? Pete, let me ask you this, mate. Yeah, it is part and parcel. Let me ask this, mate. If we are... So, look, in order to go from where we are to where we want to be, there's obviously 3 or 4 different things that are going to need to shift outside of the mentality thing. Do you think that it's more, in order of priority, is it more time for the current group of players to learn the system and do what's asked of them? Because I think that a lot of the critique or criticism right now is on Ange, or the question marks around Ange's system, but I think the players also aren't pulling their weight in certain games. So is more time to understand the requirements and then implement them, execute them better? Is it improving the quality of the squad, or is it Ange needing to be more adaptable? Could Ange win the league with this group of players if he changed his tactics? Can Ange win the league if he keeps his style, keeps his theory and his philosophy, but we improve the squad?
No to both. No to both. Okay. Yeah, it's a balance between both. To be honest, you're not gonna. In terms of your first question, do the players need more time to get used to the system? I don't think so. I don't think the system is it's very aggressive going forward, but it's too easy to be countered. And after 10 games, do you know what I mean? Say 15 games, now clubs are learning how to counter it. Yeah, and the thing is, it's always keeps coming up, is you can do what he's doing in the SPL, against Motherwell and all the rest of it, because they're not good enough to punish you. But in the Premier League, even if you go down to the bottom of the table, the teams around, all the teams in the league are equipped to punish you if you are leaving yourself open. I think early in the season we just overwhelmed teams with sheer numbers in attack and the way what we were doing. I was like, oh, this is different. We're not used to people swarming us like this. Yeah. But then teams adapt. Yeah. They get DVDs of different of all the games and they sit down, they watch, they work out how to do it. Because every week it's the same tactic against us. Whereas they take us down the wings because I know it's risk and reward, but it's too far that way. Yeah, I think I'm not asking him to throw his system in the bin. What I'm saying is you've got to, I think in my opinion, he's got to then just make some slight adjustments.
What adjustments are they?
Not throw everyone forward all the time. I mean, you look at like Fulham, for example. I think it was the second or third goal where the player got to get the ball in midfield. They won it back in mid, and they passed it to midfielder, and he had no one around him, and he was like straight our back four. I think it was the third goal.
Right?
Someone was, and everyone was gone.
Carrying the ball too far, and he gets dispossessed. There's no one behind him.
Yeah, everyone was gone. Yeah, so things like that. Yeah, for me, I think we too narrow as well. Everyone comes inside, so teams, especially the lower teams, can just block out. They only got to defend with the width of their penalty area because the fullbacks are inverted. The wire players are coming inside. It's all crowded. Stretch teams. Yeah, go back to having fullbacks go on the outside. Yeah, and then your players coming on the inside. I'd do that. But just subtle change, some subtle changes. Yeah, it also needs squad more better players as well. That's a given. Yeah. But just some subtle changes.
Players in about
like for me, I'd say Destiny's role is because he's. I mean, you look at Sean and look how many players have dropped off a cliff in their personal performances in the last few months. I think you could say most of the team, bar Van der Ven, Vicario. Son pops up with goals, but his overall play hasn't been great. Kulu is offering nothing. Madison's come back and has been non-existent pretty much. So there's a Basuma since Luton has gone. I don't know what happened to him. A different player came back, but it weren't Basuma who left. He got suspended. SARS hit and miss. There's too many players now that are not performing at the level that we've seen them can do to say there's just one or two player issue. There's clearly a wider problem there for that many players to all their performances dropping off a cliff. Even the football is not as good as it was. It's the same players now, but attacking wise and the way we play with too pondant in the final third, too many touches, people trying to dribble through teams where earlier in the season it was more one touch. It was we had a lot of zip about our play, 1-2 touch, crisp in and out. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we were hurting teams. We're not doing that anymore. So we've stopped doing a lot of what we was doing, and teams have adapted on on how we play. So just some subtle, like Destiny, for example. I'd have him doing what Kyle Walker does for City. Yeah, he plays a bit inverted, but he's the one who gets back very quickly because he's got the physical attributes to do that. I don't believe he offers a great deal on an attacking front. He gets crowded where he is because Madison likes to sit in that channel. Then you got the wider player, whoever that is, in that channel. And then you got Destiny there as well. Yeah,
it's overly
have
crowded.
Have him trying to protect the back four a bit.
Yeah, under Conte when they had Perisic out there and Sonny
and Son, they took each other's space.
Too much. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But he's got the attributes, the one who you want to think who's got the physical, like he's a specimen, the boy as well, and he's quick. That if we do get countered attack, he's not so far forward. He can then recover and help out Van der Ven all the time because I'll be honest, we're knocking the bollocks out of Van der Ven in his first year. Two hamstring injuries. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to tolerate that.
He's going to have that every year, by the way. Once your hammy goes, the same hammy as well.
And we're going to play twice a week soon because we're likely to be in Europe. He can't be doing that twice a week, because Geezer's like a horse, isn't he? He's gallops down. He's massive. Yeah? So it's amazing for a bloke that big to be that fast as it is. But for us to keep, I mean, how many times have we see him last minute? He's the one getting back and making a last minute tackle or a block or whatever. It's just against he's outpaced a really quick player most of the time as well. We just can't keep asking him to do it because he'll just get fed up because he ain't going to have his career drop short through injury. He'll just go somewhere else where he's not required to defend like that. So yes, it's not just about binning his system. I'm not asking Ange to bin his system, play Conte football, nothing stupid like that. Just some subtle changes. Like Guardiola, when he came to England in Barcelona, he played tiki-taka. Yeah, he comes to England in his first season. He realizes, right, I need to do some changes. We get Fernandinho in to sit in our midfield, who for the best part of 8 years kicked the shit out of everyone on being subtle about it. But he didn't have no one like that at Barcelona, did he? He just had all skill. He had Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets, all silky players. He didn't have a Kyle Walker at Barcelona. He had a very good fullback, but he bought Kyle Walker not because of his ball skills, because of his physicality and his athleticism. Because he recognises he needed it to play his way. He needed these players to do this job. So he completely changed what Kyle Walker does. For us, when Kyle Walker's at Spurs, he was an overlapping fullback. He goes to City, he plays a completely different role, and then Pep sort of reinvents the role really, and then now everyone's doing it. Yeah. So if Pep, whose CV is, let's be honest, is far more impressive than Ange's ever will be, if he comes to the Premier League and notices things that he has to adjust his way of playing with a team with basically an unlimited budget as well, surely we have to do. Angela then has to think, well, I need to make some minor changes here as well. Just some subtle changes to stop what's happening every week. Because if the little teams are doing it against us, what are the big teams going to do? Yeah, I'm dreading Arsenal coming to our stadium, to be honest, the way they're playing at the moment.
I think we played better. Our best football this year and our most success has come against the teams that are.
Yeah, that was earlier in the season, Sean. We've not had a big game Villa. Let's be honest, Villa for half we were poor. Newcastle, it was half a Newcastle team. Let's be honest, but that was months ago. Newcastle. Yeah, we've not had a test like that in our current form.
And that whole time they've been building up their confidence and just win. And nothing makes you better than just winning.
But you cannot keep giving away. We remember this at Conte. We had this period where we gave away the first half every week. We got 10 games not conceding. We've gone 5 games with not scoring in the first half. 5 games in a row. You cannot give teams a half in this league, because you can't always rely on a 20-minute spell where you score 3 goals, because it ain't always going to happen. And we just learned that the hard way.
That's a team scared. That's a low mentality thing. That's a team scared not to blow out from another injury. That's a team who don't feel like they've got players they can turn to on the bench. That's a team biding their time so that they can start putting and going for it later in the game. And I think that is a mentality thing.
And we might dominate possession, but we don't dominate chances. Even when we are dominate chances, quite often the other team ends up having the better chances, especially the first half of games. You can't keep doing that. This Justin Glasner keeps coming at me again.
I personally
think Villa the entire 90 minutes. I don't agree with that.
No, I kind of do agree with it. I don't think we were dominating in the first half.
We had the ball. We dominated the ball, but we didn't do not much with it. In the first half,
we were shocking. But neither did Villa, right? I think it was the scrap. It was a really scrappy game. It was very compressed in the midfield third.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but Villa fell apart in the second half. But we weren't dominating. We didn't dominate for 90 minutes.
I mean, some of the games this season, we've come out with almost 80% of the ball, and we've lost the game. And it's
that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem.
What's going on? So
Yeah.
I think there's a few different things happening. So you want quality. How do you get quality? I don't think that is obviously a time thing, but I think less quality with time. I think you saw the first 10 games. They only had a few weeks with the guy, and they played exactly how he wanted them to play. It was working. So they've got the quality. The players have got quality. That first team is quality. Obviously, when you can't change and make subs, so basically to get consistent quality, you need better players, bigger squad. So you got to buy. With time, what time is going to bring you is belief and mentality. It's like when it just breeds a better mentality. So time will bring you that. But then for Ange to adapt and to become versatile, that's what he's got to become. He's got to become. He's got to be standing. He's said that thing. People were saying this is what he does. He stands and he watches. He observes. And he doesn't just make rash decisions. It's like, okay, but he has to have a bag of tricks. You got to have.
If he never has, right? Just on that, right? As much as I agree with you guys, basically, because playing on the other hand, and I think you guys are quite a lot in agreement tonight. So just to play the other side of it, asking for him to be adaptable, asking him to go to a plan B. If he has never in his entire career done that, put aside the idea that he won't. Just say that all of a sudden he was willing to. But because he's never done it, does he then? Are we asking him then to start putting tactics into play that he himself isn't that familiar with training, isn't that familiar with asking players to do? So are you asking like a professional expert at one thing to become a jack of all trades?
Yeah.
Like asking me, I play the guitar. If someone says, Sean, we need you to do the drums tonight. All right, well, I don't know how to play the drums.
That's going to be an ugly sounding song.
It's going to be a terrible game. It's what I mean. So, like, if we're asking him suddenly to pivot, if he's not that confident in it because he doesn't know it himself, how can he then move that kind of that information?
There's a difference between pivoting and stepping up a level, because you're stepping up a level. When you step up a level, you have to step up a level with it. Yeah,
and that's why he's going to need.
You can't keep doing what you did at the lower level, because you're going to be challenged in different ways.
Yeah,
at the higher level.
I think how he does it is he's going to need, for him to be versatile. It was like I was creating a little algorithm there. For him to be versatile, he's going to need quality and time. Like, because he's learning this league, regardless of what we think, he's learning this league. He's going to have like a whole season, maybe even 2, to learn adaptability. But he's not going to be able to be that adaptable that we're going to be able to see very visually unless he can turn to a bench that he believes in. So belief is going to take time in him and the players. So he's going to have to get better quality players, and he's going to have that time to build their mentality, build his belief in winning, build their belief in winning in the project. So it's success equals Q plus T.
Can I just stop because I've got to go soon? This is the greatest time to do it. We're playing once a week. When we're playing twice a week, when's he going to get time to do it? Because every training session is prepping for the next game. Yeah. But this season,
he wants games rather than training session.
He's going to get them.
Yeah, but that also does tell you a little. I view that a little bit like a bit of a flaw, because I think you shouldn't be just putting tactics in game level all the time. I think you need to drill. They're pro players. You still have to drill them in strategy. You still have to drill a line. You can't have a line playing that high all the time. You have to
patterns
drill
of play and all that. Big one, set pieces. Set pieces. We're awful defending set pieces. Not very good at scoring them. You look down the road. What Arsenal have done, they've used that as an extra goal source, and they've obviously drilled themselves on it. And the way they don't score. They don't concede many from set pieces, and they score a lot of goals from set pieces.
I think in Conte's first year with Gianni Villa. We
saw a massive improvement. Yeah,
we scored loads of
Get
goals.
Get him back. I mean, I do have an issue with Ryan Mason being part of the coaching team.
What's Ryan Mason doing?
He's a ticket. He's just average all the time. So everywhere he's always there. It's no wonder why we don't improve. I think you may need to revisit his coaching setup, Ange, in the summer, or someone needs to on his behalf, because I don't see any.
That's another thing that's weird, isn't it? Right? If you've got a very specific way of playing, it's very nuanced, very niche, very specific, very, part of your identity, and yet you move to a new club and just take whatever coaches they have.
Right? You don't
bring it on, isn't it?
Team? Surely you bring Harry Kuehl. Like, surely you bring your team.
You have the guys that understand your system, especially if you're delegating. If you're a delegator, but also you'll take whatever staff they're offered to you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If he, as an Aussie, if he wants to get someone help on set pieces, go and get Tim Cahill. Yeah, because that man knew how to put his head on a ball.
So
get him in. Yeah, he'll show you how to score set pieces. He was lethal.
Guys, let me let's progress the conversation a little bit. Pete, just go double check. You got a bit of time, maybe?
Yeah. I've got about 20 odd minutes, mate.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
Something's come up.
So I've got so 2 questions for you. First and foremost, I wanted to get this one out because we spoke about it backstage briefly. The number 6 for me, I've been saying it. I said this all the time. I want to remind people that I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I've been saying it since the start of Ange's time at Tottenham. I've never thought that we had a 6 that really suits what we need, right? I've always thought there's a specific 6 that the Callum McGregor role, but you need someone of Premier League quality that can do what Callum McGregor does. And I don't think we have one in the ranks. That said, I was doing some digging around on Scout earlier, looking at all the stats, dialing them all up across all the European leagues, dialing up all of the metrics that I think are important for the defensive side and the passing side, and got a few names. I've been researching. I'm going to put a video out about it. But in that list, I saw the Tottenham players that were coming up. Right, the Basuma, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skippy, all that lot. And I wanted to ask you guys, who do you think, given what we need and given the current form, who do you think, in your opinion, is the best number 6 until we can improve in the summer? Like, Do you think it's Basuma? Do you think it's Benson Core? Do you think it could be someone else like Højbjerg? Do you think Skippy's the right guy? Somebody else altogether, Pedro Porro? What what's your take on the best midfield three, specifically the number 6 at the moment?
I'll let Pete go first if he wants.
I don't think Ange uses a 6 in the way you want him to use a 6, Sean. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
because he will have exactly the same data that you've got. Yeah. So if they're staring him in the face, yeah.
He's even said that, isn't he?
Yeah, because the answer is Højbjerg. We know that. Statistically, he's the best player to suit that role. And he's not even, he doesn't get a look in. So that must tell you that Ange doesn't view the 6 in that way. He doesn't want the 6 in that way that we want him to use the 6 or what you want him. Do you know what I mean? So is it worth going to buy one if he's not going to use him for what the player his skill set is for? Do you know what I mean? So
no, I hear you. I hear you. It's just
I agree. We need someone there, but if he doesn't use that player in that way, then it's a moot point, isn't it?
Basuma's not working, is he? Basuma is not the guy. But the problem for me is Basuma gets the ball. He's not a good passer of the ball. He's a good short passer, maybe medium, but he can't put the ball over the top. He certainly can't put the ball through a tight space. Romero is an infinitely better passer than Basuma is, which is why Basuma turns around and gives it to him all the time. It's also why Maddison drops deep, picks the ball up and gives it to Romero. But when Basuma does get the ball, in order for him to break the press, he runs and drives with it, which he's very good at. He's a press-resistant midfielder in that regard. But if he then does get dispossessed, like what happened in the Fulham game twice, or three, I think it happened 3 times, but I think we were punished for it once, maybe twice.
Straight at the back 4.
There's nobody behind him. And when he's doing that, you've already got Porro and Udogie up there. So you're left with 2 centre-backs and a load of players chasing back this way. Basuma is not the right guy to have in the 6 if he can't pass the ball through the middle closely enough. Brains, I don't know if you agree with that, mate.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the type of passer, like a guy who's got incredible range, it is Højbjerg. Højbjerg can put a ball, we've seen it so many times, he can put a ball right through the passing lanes. And as in who's the best footballer between them, I still think it's Bentancur. Like the ceiling that Bentancur has when he is playing his way, he's so press resistant, he's silky. But then sometimes I think I'd rather see him push the issue. I'd rather see Bentancur in an 8. I still think he's the best 8 we have. And I think when those two came on in the last game, it was like infinitely different. They just seemed to have a little bit more chill on the ball. They were putting the ball around a little bit better. We just didn't have any people moving for them well. But I think Basuma is a great player. Again, I sometimes think he's just a better one-touch, close little movement player. And then that's someone you want kind of in creative. Like
you want him competing with Pap Sarr. We haven't seen him play in the second 8. We haven't seen him play on that right-hand side.
I think he's great there. Sometimes when you see him for his country, he's up in the 10, and he's a dribble merchant. He's
a brilliant dribbler.
Yeah, he's a great dribbler. I think like that was Pete's point when we're talking about Palhinha. We're going, oh, what a strong player. But I don't know if Ange wants that player in the 6. He wants a fluid movement. He wants his 2 inverted wing backs. So that room gets all squashed in that point. So I don't think, I think Pete's made a great point there. And I think if you're looking at for that role, if he was just to play a 6, Højbjerg clearly is that guy. And people say Højbjerg can't turn, but in the last 2 games, he's done like these little tricks where he drops the shoulder and goes. So he can do it. Obviously, Højbjerg knew he was never going to be in favor. So in early games, he was having a nightmare because he's like under pressure to show this new guy who doesn't like him. So you always see people, going a little bit off the mill. But I think I've always been a bit weirded out by why Højbjerg got so much stick. Sometimes people just don't get what players are going through. But I still, I think there's a, when you heard Ange say that that he wants to get rid of the terms 6, 8s, and 10s. And then you see Maddison dropping deep, doing nothing with the ball and not being in the position to do what he does. So, there's getting rid of the 10, 6. And it looked like in the first and even second half, before they made the switch, it looked like none of the midfielders knew exactly who had the role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I agree.
I think it is a problem. The first 10 games, it looked smooth, silky. so that's to say, well, okay, well, Ange Ball is only good if, Basuma is playing incredibly well. If VDV is at the back, it's like, well, we lose these players and then what? We just die because we don't. So I think we do have to go to the market and get.
What happened is that the teams, as I said, teams worked it out. Yeah. So they worked out how to play us. So then players are less effective, and then that comes back to the point. Okay, that was your plan A. Now what's your next plan? Because it don't work anymore. It's been snuffed out. But I agree. It's for me. Everything's too. In an ideal world, everything be fluid. It's too fluid. Everyone just goes all over the place. And he said it before. His philosophy is: if there's a bit of space, if you can take up a space to help the team, then do it. But I just think in the Premier League, you need a bit more structure to what you're doing. You need to have specific patterns of play. It goes back again to our attacking play. It's all bit. There's not really any plan to how we're going to break teams down. It's just hoping for a bit of individual brilliance. Defensive wise, the same. It just does matter because Van der Ven will just outrun anyone and get and put in the tackle. And that sort of whole philosophy just ain't sustainable. There's no other team in the league that works like that. Even teams above us do not work in that manner. Yeah,
that's one of the most damning things that I
look at them like down the road. Yeah, they're not. Arsenal ain't blessed with a load of world class players. They haven't got a City squad. Look at how they're playing. They've got a mean defense. They're mean defense as a team.
Defense is fantastic.
Going forward, they're smashing teams all over the place without a striker.
They do have rigid structure.
Yeah, they have patterns of play, a rigid structure to what they're going to do. Everyone knows what they're doing. It's none of this. Well, you can go wherever you like. Shit, you don't see the left back in the number 10 position and all that. So there is ways. There's many ways to skin a cat, but you do have to have some sort of structure in place.
And I thought we were going to get that. I thought we were going to get that phrase that was being used, that whole rigid fluidity. Where's the rigidness, though? The rigidness is gone.
I remember that phrase. Yeah, I was using that phrase. Fluid rigidity and rigid fluidity. I was using that every week for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
But is the rigidness just in Ange's ability to not change? Like that looks like the only thing that's rigid to me, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Because you can't have like the potential. At first 10 games, we're going, okay, some people were saying there's a chance that we could go on and win this. But you can't just take one player out and go, like, sure, players got injured and stuff, but we actually did some all right things despite the injuries. But it's Van de Ven though. It's like that last two games is like, man, if we didn't have him per week, we'd be 3-0 down every game. Like the clearance he does, the speed that he has at getting back, it's a bit of a cheat code. So then you're saying, okay, well, unless you're going to adapt to have another style of play, then you're going to burn that kid into the ground and he's going to be gone. You're going to murder that kid's legs unless you get another alternative that can do the speed, or your two center backs are just absolutely proficient with a real number 6 in front of them. So you've got the triangle of 3 strong players to shut down everything. That's why you need a Paulinho, because anyone coming across the halfway line, bang, they get battered. They get taken down. Let me use
that transition there, Gav Brains. Let me use that transition as to move into the kind of the question that was in the title, right? If you are Ange right now and you have to send a Santa Claus letter for the summer to Daniel Levy, to Paratici, to Langer, etc., Scottman, who is on your wish list? Realistically, like not every player. I don't think we're ever going to get like all of the solutions done this window either. But if there were 4 different sort of players, 4 different level positions, what's your wish list look like? And I'll start with you, and then I'll come to Pete, and then we'll round off.
Yeah, so I think I would always loved like Barella when he was playing as the 6, like a real 6. Like he was playing as almost like a regista. Like just connecting all the moves out the backs. Like if you want to play with fluidity, it's someone like that you need then. Like that's not a Paulinho. But if you want to play with an enforcer, then I say you get like a Paulinho. Kimmich is more of a Barella. So it depends on how you want to play that role. Because I'm seeing that it's more the Barella. It's more the someone. You want someone different to me. I want someone who's more of an enforcer that can pass. Yeah.
You're saying
I would want an enforcer because I think that takes away the defensive frailties. If you just want a regista, a Barella type, you can go and get Billy Gilmore in a cheap. You know what I mean? But he's not got the strength to stop people dead in their tracks. you know, and those kind of fouls that you get yellows for, not reds. Like some lighter players have to make harder fouls. You know, like a Bentancur has to go and slide and take a player's leg out. Whereas a Paulinho just bang, shoulders them to the ground and they're dead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
super
So
strong
I
guy.
think you need a Paulinho is number one if you're going to go for that real six, or you get a Kimmich if you're going to go for a kind of Regista type. But then I think you're really talking about you need another incredible creative player who links everything. So if you're looking at, you still also need the British quota. I'd probably go and get a Gibbs White, and you can actually have a Madison and a Gibbs White together. But if not, you're probably going to have to go for someone a little bit cheaper. But I would try to get a Gibbs White. And if you're saying best case scenarios, but then I think you're needing. I'd get rid of Richarlison, but I think you need a striker who can also play on the wing. So I'd go and get a Jonathan Rowe who's got 14 goals and 4 assists in the Championship, because you need someone to play behind. Sonny's going to play as a number 9, and then you're probably looking at. I'd get rid of Gill. I'd get rid of Solomon. Obviously, all the other players to get rid of, but I'd bring in 2 top wingers who take their man on. Guys who just want the ball and they just want to go at players, go at them all the time. Like, because if that's what Ange needs, someone who goes at the player, uses brilliance to get by them, to cut the ball back, and that's the only way that really Ange ball works against low blocks. Well, then you have to go out and spend 50 million on two players. You know, you've got to go out and get your Williams and your all these top
Rafinha, something like that.
Yeah, people with speed and dribbling ability who can cut the ball back. I can't watch. I like Kulu. I'm not ripping on Kulu, but I cannot watch him go to the line and constantly cut back. It's the easiest thing in the world to defend. You really don't need to do much to stop him from getting through. No, like the book has been written on him, so he's got to be a lot more clever. He's got a right foot. He's got a great right foot
when he wants to use it. Never uses it. Yeah.
So if he's not going to go to the line and cut back, Gonzo, you know. So I would be really hard for that. Those would be my top 4.
Pete, same question to you, mate. And I've got one other question I want you to throw in there. In fact, I don't want you to answer this first. In terms of a striker, I think everyone would like a striker to come in. Maybe they don't. Let me know. But just want to throw this in there so you get the chance to answer it alongside the wish list.
Strikers on the wish list.
Richarlison came out, or there's an article. I think he forgets that when he's talking to the Portuguese or Brazilian media, it gets translated. He's come out today and said that he had a conversation with his coach and told him that the national team always comes first for him. I'm going to get accused once again for people listening that I've got an agenda against Richarlison, but every single time I see something from this guy, I feel like he is a bit of a piss taker. Like, I understand his passion for his country, but he should remember who's paying his wages, right? And when he's saying that all he cares about is the national, or the national team is his number one priority. For me, just quickly, the reason I'm mentioning it is because if we could get 50 million quid back or anything like it in the summer, I would bite your hand off even for a 30% loss on him. I know he's had a good last 10 games, Pete, but Richarlison's starting to piss me off a little bit with the commentary. Would you include a striker in your wish list?
Striker is on my wish list. I don't rate Richarlison, never have done. You know that anyway. For me, he's not a good footballer. He's had a little purple patch, but apart from the 2 goals at Everton, most of his goals have been what most people could score. They've all been scruffy bobbles within the 6-yard box on the 6-yard line 9 times out of 10 after he's missed the previous 3 or 4 good chances. Yeah, he's not clinical at all. Don't get me wrong, he runs his nuts off, can't fault his work rate, and all that, but it's just not good enough. But as for him being prioritised in the national team, Romero's the same. Let's be honest, he didn't play for a load of games, so he go to the World Cup all fresh. It's a South American thing. It's what you get when you buy them, so you've got to take that into account. But if we could get what's this?
We agree on you. We agree.
I'd get rid of him. Yeah, I would have 100%. Yeah, I'll take a loss on him. Yeah, same as when the 20 million come from some Raw, I'd have shipped him out a bit lively. Yeah, because you never get that chance to get the money back. But get rid of him. My wish list would be we'll start with a striker while we're there. It would be Isak. I think he's the
Good player.
silkiest sort of killer. He's a killer. Yeah, I know he's not scored bundles this season in a destroying a Newcastle side, but on our side, I think he'd get goals. He'd get serious goals because that man is clinical. He's got that.
Who was the striker you say?
Isak for Newcastle.
Oh, Isak. Yeah, 100%, mate. I completely agree with you on that. 100%.
He is. I mean, Watkins is a good player.
He's Swedish as well. He's Swedish as well, Pete. Right, we're building the Swedish house mafia at Tottenham at the moment, aren't we? Like he's Swedish.
Well, let's be honest. We bought a Swede in Kulusevski, but he's turning into a cabbage a bit lively. Yeah, so he needs to have a word with that. But I definitely get Isak. He's a killer. He's got that killer instinct. He's clinical. He's got that cutting edge. Yeah.
Is he a marquee signing? Would he be called marquee?
For us, yeah. I think the value, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for him. I think you've got to take advantage of Newcastle's problems and take him off them and say to him, we still got Callum Wilson, we'll take him and solve some of your problems. Wide player, we need a wide player. I agree with Gavin, who's going to take players on. The obvious one at the moment is Pedro Neto. Yeah, he's got a few injury problems, but I think the juice will be worth the squeeze on him. Yeah, I always prefer Prem-proven players because it's just, you know what you're going to get out of them. Yeah, so, and we saw what he did to us. Very good player he is. I wanted him years ago before he got his big injury. And for a number, we talk about a number 6. Let's say Ange pivots to a conventional number 6 in the summer because he realises he needs one. My first choice would be Douglas Luiz at Villa. Yeah, who runs games, great passer and chips in with a lot of goals as well.
Yeah,
really good player.
So you think he plays as a 6? I kind of see him more as like a double pivot with John McGinn, but you might be right. I don't know who plays more deeper.
Well, they both. I mean, none of them. McGinn's not holding midfield player either. Yeah. But he does. He does get in and mop up a lot of stuff, and he starts to tax off. He's very good on the ball. I mean, people like Eze, Elise. I think Eze, is he going to play in our? It'd be good to have in the squad if he's good enough to start. But
where does he plays.
Yeah, where does he fit? Yeah, that's Maddison's role, isn't it? What he's got. We could have got him years ago for 10 million, but we didn't. Daniel didn't want to pay that for him. Daniel Levy, he thought it was too much for a player at QPR. I mean, where have we learned that? He didn't want to pay 2 million for what's his name, Jude Bellingham, when he was at Birmingham. I bet he regrets that now. Yeah.
What, Jude Bellingham was linked with Tottenham?
Yeah, when he was at Birmingham. Yeah.
Really?
Could have bought. I think it was 1.5 million. Yeah, look it up. You'll see it.
Wow,
we
didn't
didn't
know
pay it.
Yeah, I'm leaving it out then.
Yeah, honestly, look it up. Look it up. Let's be honest. Daniel Levy's got many of them on his CV. Oh, I even probably wouldn't have said he would. No one would have known he was going to be the player he is now. But it was obviously he was going to be a very good player. As
10
a
years
left wing,
his brother.
As a left wing,
as well. Is it Job Bellingham? His brother?
He's a Sunderland. Yeah.
He's not Jude, but he's a lot better.
I think as a left wing, I don't really think that works. I think he's the way our team is set up. That's not going to work because you're going to throw Sonny out there if you go and buy a striker. What's his name? The other player at Palace, definitely. And he just signed a new contract.
Elise.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elise's fast. But again, he's a right-sided player, right? He doesn't look.
I'd take him over Kulu any day of the week. Yeah. I'd take Neto over Kulu any day of the week. There's a lot of players I'd take over Kulu any day of the week at the moment. But for me, we've got to improve the squad by pushing these players that are currently in.
I think the hate for Kulusevski is misplaced. I think
he's not hate. It's not hate, but I just don't think he's as good as what people think he is. I think he's overrated. Yeah.
I think he's underrated by a lot of people. I genuinely think he's underrated.
I think he's too predictable. Yeah, we talk work rate is different. He does work his nuts off. I give him that, but where I want him to do the damage, doesn't do it. Yeah, not often enough. Yeah, he's not clinical enough. He's flaky. Yeah, and he's very predictable. Yeah, too predictable. Mm-hmm. But
what about this guy, Conor Gallagher? He's like, there's got to be something to that one, boys. Right? Like we've been linked with him for about 7 months. It won't go away as Biggie Biggs.
Never thought that would happen.
Listen, I'll have to have him in the team. Yeah, I think he's a really good player. He brings a lot of energy. Well, he's going to compete with a Sarr and a Basuma, isn't he? Yeah, I just think the only thing I want
the middle eight
again. He doesn't have he can play anywhere in the midfield, so that fits his philosophy a bit more, isn't it? I think, to be honest, I think that will start dying a bit because obviously the thing is about him was the whole FFP selling him for pure profit.
Yeah,
that was where that come from. But now they're going to pivot to the UEFA way, where that doesn't really. The academy players, you don't need to make pure profit. You just need to the same percentage of revenue. So that sort of thing where you've got to sell the academies for pure profit for FFP ain't going to be a thing anymore because they're going to change the rules.
yeah, but if you can get 40 million quid for it, it still counts to your revenue, right?
Oh yeah, but
I
I'm
hear what
saying
you're
they're not under
it's not as
pressure to
valuable.
take him. Yeah,
No, it's
that
not as valuable.
yeah, but I'd take him 40 million any day of the week. Am I going to pay 80 million for him? No. Yeah, I don't think he's worth that. I think there's much more.
Yeah. Okay. Gavin, just to get your take quickly on Richarlison as well, like is is he?
Sean, I've got to go, mate. I'll leave you. Look,
All right,
to
mate.
finish
Oh,
off.
well, yeah, we're going to wrap.
Run.
You're right now, have you? Okay, mate. No worries.
Yeah.
I'll finish up with
Right.
Brains. Thanks so much for coming on,
Yeah.
Pete. Really
Cheers,
appreciate
lads.
you, buddy. Nice
Look
one, mate.
boys. Yeah,
See
mate.
you soon, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Brains, we'll just go for a couple more minutes, mate. Just on that Richarlison thing.
Yeah, no,
it pisses me off, mate. He's always
he drives me nuts. I don't see him running the lane. He's always offside. He doesn't arc his run. Just fundamentals of what you get taught as a striker. Like he's dreadful on one-on-ones, with keepers. When he gets through, it's just his kind of shot selection in his mind is odd, and it's like even when he was on like 10 goals in 8 games, he got those chances through. And, when he got put through, beautiful balls put him through and he hits it, he squiffs it with his left instead of just step over the ball and hit it. If you're right footed, step over and, just little things like that. It's just everything.
Even the non-playing side of it, like, because I've always said I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the player, but I am a fan of the person. But increasingly, I'm actually getting a little bit irritated by the person as well. I feel like he's got a very big mouth. Like he's very happy to. Like I was never a fan of Conte, but him stepping up and speaking his mind, even though he thought it was something else, he thought it was an open forum, whatever. To turn around, he's been in England for what 10 years? Watford, Everton, Tottenham. He can't speak English properly. Like I feel like that's a bit odd, right? Yeah. And then the fact that he was willing to throw when he wasn't performing very well anyway. Then like the injuries, it was always an excuse. So I've got problems back. Everyone's got problems. But you still got to turn up for work. And he didn't turn up on time. He was late to training. Now he's coming out and saying that he's not really like he always prioritize his country over club. I just find that kind of thing like he knows that's going to get back to Tottenham fans. Like, who's paying your wages, bro? I don't know. To me, sell the geezer, sell him in the summer, see you later, and go and get another one. Go and get go on.
Even a purple patch, hasn't, any of the way through it hasn't. Even the goals he was scoring, they were just not. It was just like you finally made that front post run and you've got a tap in. You finally got to the right position and you got a tap in. Like and then of course that happens all the time if you just get into those positions. But but also like he was asked off the ball stuff. Like he was asked, how he was getting on, and Andrew was saying, he's going to be out for 3 weeks. And then that's your manager, and so your manager's words got to be solid. He completely kind of undermined his words and said that no, he said to the press that he's in training and that he'll be back next week. And so then Ange got quizzed on it, like to say like, what's happening here? Do you just not like Richarlison? So he is kind of playing a little game, trying to make the press.
He's not on international duty right now, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not a problem because he actually did. He was on the bench, didn't he? He was on the bench against Fulham, so it's not not as quite as bad as I thought. I was like, wait a minute, you're injured, and then you go anyway. Yeah. Oh, look who's turned up! Hang about. You're supposed to be on, mate. You had the chance to come on. You said you wanted to bury Brains for his opinion.
Unbelievable. And now I got to make my dinner, and he's Kariaki's turned up with his box of gloves ready.
Yeah, he's still working on the outing. Another time, mate. We can get you on next week.
Rematch.
He's gone in the summer, he reckons. Good to see you, Danny. No worries, mate. Couldn't make it today. Gavin, mate, absolutely sensational.
Just the last thing on Ange. If Ange, I think Ange is a good guy, and I think he is the guy to steer the ship. I think give him a little bit of time to build the mentality, give him the quality that he needs to do his system, and he will build other things with that system. I think he's going front foot right now is the only thing we can do with these players, you know. So give him a little bit of time, but I think, you know, it doesn't mean that just because we're being a little bit apprehensive on things that you're Ange out. I don't think that at all. I like what I'm seeing with the guy. Give him a little bit of time, give him a good quality, improve the quality, you know, give him a bit of time to build a mentality, and then let's see where we're at. But it isn't going to be,
I 100% agree with that.
all plain sailing. You know what I mean? It's like we've lost 3 out of the last 7, or out of the last 10, 3 out of them or something. So what, 7 wins and 3 losses? It's not bad. Like he's set the expectation with a good run at the start. You know what I mean? But I just think like we should always be looking to improve, and we should always be looking to critique if you see something wrong. It's not a case of you just go like, oh, don't anyone. There's this thing that was happening in the fan base of like, oh, they're gonna kick him out, you know, Andrew's gonna go for like it's gonna like the fans have ever had a say in managers.
Honestly, a few weeks ago in the previous 2-week break, Johnny and I did a couple of devil's advocates, and we had some bad form, bad results. And there wasn't any new games because it was like late February, I think it was, and it was a 2-week breather, or mid February sometime. And people in the comments, I did a show with Johnny, and Johnny was just saying how he sees it. You know, he's sort of much like Pete. I think you're a little bit more kind of sort of dialed into the patience thing. Pete's a little bit more like I'm frustrated with it. So is Johnny. But I had people in the comments afterwards saying like, can't stand this, I'm unsubscribing, this negativity it's toxic beyond belief. Like, what are we doing here? We're just having a chat
called devil's advocate where you're just hitting the other side.
We're putting both sides of the argument. The problem is that I kind of agreed with him at the time. I was like, there is a lot of problems, so I wasn't probably playing the devil's advocate enough. But look, you know, it is it's the part of the process we're in at the moment, as I said at the start, is that you're going to have 1 week where you smash a team, and then everyone's going to go, wow, if we can continue doing this, then the title's still on, sort of thing, like we did last week. And then the next week you go Spursy and do what you did against Fulham. And then the people that have got concerns are going to come out in force. And it's just, you know, there's never a day in the Tottenham community where the fans aren't at each other's throats because you can't have a consistent opinion, because 1 week we're brilliant, the next week we're not. And that's always been the kind of case with Tottenham, hasn't it, Brains? You know, so
yeah. And I think like, you know, like I do believe in like things like what Stellan and Danny say about like manage your expectation of what you are seeing and what you think is going to happen in this, because it is just going to take time. And I totally agree with that. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop being a fan and go with the motion by motion of what it is in fandom. Like, you know, you watch a game and you see players having lack of motivation in the one weekend where they just need a win against a team who they should roll over, and they don't even turn up. Like, you can't stop yourself from being very angry at that point. I joked immediately. I joked about Ange out, like it was a joke, you know. Like, you're supposed to have a sense of humor about things, you know. Like, and then your mind should. Whenever anyone says no, you don't. It's too early. It's too early to critique the manager. I just go like, you're just being a thought Nazi. Like, you don't tell me how to think. Like, I can see that there is fallibility, and I know that it's gonna take him time to learn this league, you know. So the fallibility is understandable. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having. Everyone would have that, but it's still fallible, you know. It's still a problem. He's got to work on it, you know. And just to point that out doesn't mean that you're saying Ange out. Like, that's insane. It's like, I'm not saying that at all. I love the guy, you know.
No, listen, I agree with you, and to a degree. Like, I think that, you know, if Tottenham can finish 4th this season, then put aside like the expectations versus reality. If we have finished 4th, regardless of getting smashed against, you know, Fulham, like if Arsenal win the league this year, are they going to care that they lost away at Aston Villa? Are they going to care that they lost away at Fulham? Are they going to care that they lost, that they might lose at Tottenham? If it doesn't affect them, if they go and win the league, they're going to sit there and go, well, no one wins them all every season, right? But we won the league. And I think for Tottenham to finish 4th, I'm not saying it's a trophy, but when you've gone from the giant shift from where we were to where we are, even with all the bad days and the bad days at the office and the fallibility of the system, to finish as the fourth best team in a much better league this year. Like the league last year was pretty rubbish, right? But this year, I know Chelsea are struggling and United are kind of in a weird position, but Liverpool are much better than they were last year. City are still doing their thing. They might be off a little bit of their top level, but they're still very good. Arsenal are continuing their good form.
Arsenal's the best they've been in so long. And look at what we've done to these teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like
exactly undefeated against the top six outside of the Chelsea game when we went down to 9 men. So I really think that even if we do finish fourth and we qualify for the Champions League, like no one will remember the Fulham game and no one will remember the Wolves game, and people for it to say what might have been had we not dropped those points against Everton, had we not unnecessarily drew with United when they were there for the taking, we could have gone on for the title. And so if we can iron out those inconsistencies over the summer, then there's a launch pad there for a really, really good season 2 under Ange, isn't there, at Brains?
Yeah, huge. That's what I'm kind of banking on. You know, that's what I'm saying about like the time and mentality and like I kind of look at it like it's almost a joke. If you like I think already it's way over performance. The problem is that the first 10 games were such incredible form. He's way ahead of schedule, and all that does is just build the expectation up. Even the questions they were asking him after the third or fourth one, they were talking to him like he's a god. They were talking to him like, how have you come into our league and just become so, that's the kind of rhetoric that was coming out, and he was able to come across so confident. Now he hates the questions because they're like, do you think this is and he's going, and he's having to defend his players all of a sudden. He's never going to sell them out. And it's like, it was too soon, too much too soon. But that's not to say that it's bad. It shows it works. It's just now you need a consistency in players who are young. You got to work on that. Now you need a bigger squad. You got to work on that. You got to get everyone wanting it. You got to work on players not getting upset and going to the press saying, "Oh, I'm rather play for my country." You got to work on that. You got to weed these players out. You can tell he doesn't fancy some players. Get them out then. So this is the progression of like what we got to see. 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons of just get him to be able to be comfortable, to be versatile, because he knows he's got a Paulinho, he knows he's got a certain type of player he can call on like that.
Well, let me ask you that, mate. Last question of the night then for you. I was going to round it off, but I think you've just triggered something that I did have as a kind of a last minute question. I saw Can you still hear me? You still there?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Still there? I think I'm not sure if it's me dropping out or you dropping out. I think the internet
No,
might be struggling. So Fabrizio Romano comes out with a thing on his podcast saying that he thinks that Tottenham have got something special. Let me have I got it here? Fabrizio Romano says that, where is it? I see Tottenham signing an important player this summer transfer window, but a really important one. I think they want to do something special in that position. He was talking about a midfielder, right? He was talking about a midfielder, and we're not sure who that is. But generally speaking, if Tottenham were to bring in a club record signing this summer, and I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. I know Ange was saying that confusing statement, but I don't think £100 million players are going to be very prevalent anymore because of the new tighter rules with regard to spend and all that stuff. I think they're things of the past for the main part, but I think Tottenham could break the record. Would you prefer Tottenham broke the transfer record? If we were to get a marquee monster in, would you prefer it to be a winger, a forward, or a midfielder, or defender if you think we need one? But if there was one player that was 65, 70 million pound player that came in, would it, a Rafinha or a Benjamin Sesko or a Paulinho? Which position would you like the big money in?
That is one of those big questions. Like I would go, if I look at the midfield, and it depends obviously how many players you're going to get rid of. You're going to probably move Lo Celso on. If Højbjerg's not going to be there, then you'd probably be forced. But for me, I think if it is a monster midfielder, like someone who is as good as Maddison and VDV in their positions, that's who, you know what I mean? Like if it's a marquee name like that, and who is that centre midfielder? Is it Ederson? Is it Palhinha? Who is the world's best? You know, like if it's that guy, then I'd go for the midfielder.
Frankie de Jong, a
Frankie de
Kimmich.
Jong, someone like that, like a 60, 70 million centre mid, then I probably would be forced to go that way. If not, if it's not that world class, then I would be looking at it being a striker, someone who is just clinical, like there's no two ways about it. The ball goes in the back of the net, like, and I wouldn't even say that Ivan Toney is that guy. You know, I'm talking about someone who is just world class. If you're going to break the bank on absolute, 100%.
The problem is, Brains, is that if you're breaking the bank on a striker, it's going to cost you 100 million, right?
Yeah.
But like a 70 million pound striker is maybe top 10, 12 strikers in the world, but it's not top 2 or 3. Whereas if you're spending 75 million pound on a midfielder, like a Zubimendi, like a Palhinha, like a, you're maybe top 4 or 5 midfielders in that particular position. Yeah. So, like, strikers of 70 million, 80 million pound quality are good. They're great, but they're not world class. Whereas you could get a world class midfielder for that money.
Well, I think that as a CDM, if you're going to play that way, to have I don't want people to go nuts, but sometimes I just don't think Cutie Romero is as good a centre back. Like sometimes I think in behind him he's a bit fallible. Like great going forward, and I think VDV is about almost 2-3x better than him. So, but I'd love a Tapsoba at right back, a VDV, and like a Palhinha in front of them. Like just incredible strength in that diamond. So like if they fell in, you got a back three almost. Going forward, you got one who can progress and just stop people on the halfway line. People who read the game, like a centre mid who reads the game, who just he just does exactly what VDV does. When people try to run past VDV, it's almost laughable how
it is, isn't it? It's brilliant. It's just absolutely. It's like one of those. It's like there was a horse, right? I used to watch the Cheltenham Gold Cup about 3 years ago. There was a horse that won the race, and he one of the races, one of the big races. I forget which one it was, and I can't even remember the horse's name for the life of me. But he retired after that particular race and went into stud. And this horse had won every single race he'd ever been in. Basically, he won the Melbourne Cup. He'd gone around the world, wins everything. And this horse had this like additional kind of couple of inches in his face. It was so long, and as he would stand at the start line and just sort of look around, and you kind of knew the horse knew that he was the bollocks. The horse kind of knew, like, oh really? Are we really doing this again? You again? Didn't I smash you last time out? You're supposed to be pretty good, aren't you? All right, I'll let you have a little bit of a head start. And I want a player that just, as you say, mate, that can just knows what he's doing, is comfortable, like Van der Ven. When Van der Ven is having a foot race with someone, there's no fear, there's no risk. You just know the outcome before it starts,
And someone in the centre mid that if he's going in on a 50-50, the outcome. Like this player's going to disintegrate and fall apart off him, and he's going to take the ball and go. Like, so that's the good thing about Palhinha. And players like that, just strength. Do you know what I mean? Just absolute strength, and also strength, but confidence, like a Declan Rice type confidence to like go progress the ball, play the ball through the line from anywhere in the park. Taking the ball off your goalkeeper with someone there, like hands here, shove them off. Our players their hands are down here. Push them. Why are we so soft when the ball comes into our feet? Like, you should get nowhere near a strong CDM. They get nowhere near the ball. You just hold them. Look at when VDV does that perfectly as well. When someone's trying to go, he's just got him there like that. He's got 2 yards. These guys nowhere getting anywhere near the ball. So
We
need that. We need that strength. And annoyingly, I think Bentancur's ceiling is incredible, but he's not that. He's a slick guy. Again, hands down by the side. Then someone comes in like Matty Cash and murders him off the ball, and he's injured. You know what I mean? Like slender, strong players, but slender. Højbjerg was a bit like a killer at first, but the confidence. You don't want someone with fallible confidence. So yeah, I think that would be a great place that you probably could get 65, 70
If
million.
Højbjerg had, this internet, I'm not sure if this is my internet or your internet, mate. It's going crazy. If Højbjerg had just like 10% more pace, though, I think he'd be perfect for this system. But he doesn't, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you know,
him, Højbjerg getting the ball with two players coming on either side, I feel like it's dangerous.
Yeah.
They all are at the moment. We don't have someone who's so calm. That classic world class, player who's just who.
That's what we need. We need a world class one. Anthony Grima, the fun guy. Good to see you, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. I'm sorry, I know you put it in ages ago, mate, and I didn't actually see it until just checking now. But thank you very much. And funnily enough, we're on the topic still. He wants a monster number 6, Titans defense plus adds quality progression with ball, another finisher too, winger or striker. Yeah, 100%, mate. I think that if we get 3 players in this summer, people might be underwhelmed by the number, but I think that if the players are right and it's an interesting and a statement to 2 or 3 players, you go and get a Rafinha, you go and get a Kimmich, and then you go and get a Benjamin Sesko, and you spend 150 million quid on 3 players, I would be over the moon. Thank you very much for the super chat, Anthony, mate. And just quickly, sorry, Brains. And then Danny Kiriakou saying 1 player Sean equals monster number 6 equals Polina. The only problem I have with Polina is I'm not sure he is as good of a passer as we possibly need. I think he needs someone. He has players in front of him in that system at Fulham that will come deep and take the ball off him, like Alex Pereira, and then they'll feed in the likes of Iwobi and stuff. And that maybe you could get that with the Polina. Polina just wins it back, beats the monster, and then finds a Bentancur maybe. But appreciate the super chat, Danny. You should have been here, mate. You should have been here.
Polina's strength is something that I admire. I admire his strength in him.
Polina's he's a phenomenal player. I'd love to have him. I would love to have him, but I don't. He's 28, I think now. I'm not sure if it fits Tottenham's sort of buying.
Could you get him for decent money then? If you got Polina, could you get him for like under 50, and then you could go bust the bank on attackers?
I'll tell you one thing. I think he might be destined to go to Bayern Munich, although that was the case before the Thomas Tuchel saga. If that still happens, there's a player at Bayern Munich that I wouldn't mind. And apart, not just Josh Kimmich, but Konrad Laimer was a player that Tottenham were linked with a couple of years ago. And I really like Konrad Laimer. I think he's the guy. He's a very, very good tackling midfielder. And he's also a phenomenal passer of the ball, and he's very mobile. So I think, do you know much about Konrad Laimer?
No, was he the guy who Tuchel was keeping Kimmich out of the team? Have I lost you?
No, I'm here. I'm back. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Was he the guy who he suddenly dropped Kimmich from the team and put this kid in? Was that the guy you're talking about? Because I couldn't remember who it was, but that was kind of quite a shock at the time, and then there was a bust up because Tuchel was saying Kimmich is not a 6 when he's like one of the best 6s in the world. Have you gone again? Hello? You there? I don't know if it's me or Sean's.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know where Brains has gone. Is he gone? Brains has gone. I'm back. I'm not sure what happened there. Brains obviously kicked out. You can let me know if you can still hear me. Let me see if you can still hear me. What's going on? My internet's terrible. Am I here or is we're scattered on, guys? It's still me. Steve, I think he bailed. I'm back. All right then. I can only apologize about that. The internet's absolutely disgusting. It was me the whole time. I thought it was his. I thought it was his. It was his internet, but it's obviously mine. I froze, so he ran off. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, well, that's the end of that one. Whilst I've got you though, yeah, I'm back. Okay, I'm back. Here he is. Well, yeah, that was the end of the show, guys. Anyway, so Brains has gone, Pete's gone, the internet's going. I'm not going to take any more of your time up. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed the show. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to go yet. Stay with me. Stay with me. This is what I wanted to show you guys earlier, right? So, how am I going to do this? All right. Bear with me here for a second. You're going to see the weird stuff. This is what I was looking at, right? So, I'm not sure if you can see this properly. I'm going to zoom in for you. But this is what I was looking at. I was doing some digging in. Now, Pete and Brains made some valuable points about... hang on, Brains is texting me. What's he saying? Yeah, I'm back in. Hang on. No worries, brother. I'm back in. I'm back in. But I'm finishing soon. Love you, Brains, if you're watching. Appreciate you, mate. I'll speak to you afterwards. So, guys, I think you can see the screen, right? So what I've done here, this is using the Wire Scout tool. And I've basically got all of the things that I think are necessary about a DM, right? Let me just double check that you can see this. Can you? Yeah, you can. Yeah, perfect. All right, so hang tight with me here. So I've filtered through every single person in world football that's a midfielder. As you can see, we've got a midfielder here. This is in the last calendar year. I filtered between the age of 15 and 28. I've said that they have to have at least 1,300 minutes, which is about sort of 15 games of football, give or take, or more, in their last year, 365 days. I think that the midfielder we need is someone that is a monster defensively, that can sit in the pocket and protect, tackle, dispossess with interceptions, sliding tackles where necessary, but make sure that they are fully on board the defensive actions per 90. Defensive duels as well. You can see this stuff over here on the left-hand side, right? So this is the filter, and we can dial this up and down. Defensive duels per 90, defensive duels 1. I put in 58% just as a starting block. Interceptions per 90, just under 1. But we also need someone that can progress the ball with the passing, that has wonderful passing range, moving the ball forward. So I put in forward passes per 90, at least 8.43, which is quite a lot for a defensive midfielder. Accurate forward passes. I've just started off with 66%. We're going to dial that up in a minute. Progressive passes per 90, 3.26, right? Not that much. We're going to dial it up. Accurate progressive passes, 70%. Market value, I've zoned out of all the kids, all the people that are not really particularly relevant to us. So £4 million and upwards. Passes per 90, 35, just as a starting point. And passes to the final third per 90, 4.3. You can see by the grey bars, the grey kind of shape here, that when you get to the descending area, then you start to filter out the average and below average. And as you can see, if you look right down bottom right, after doing those basic primary filters, I've got rid of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of midfielders, and I'm left with just 102. And if you if you watch the 102, if I dial this back a little bit to 6.08 to go down to 4.9, dial this down to 5, dial this down to 54%, and you can see the number over here. It gets a little bit higher because 186 players. And so you see that based on valuation in market value, the best midfielders here are Pedri, that have done all of these, that are hitting all of these criteria: minutes on the field, successful defensive actions, blah, blah, all that stuff. Pedri's the number one guy, right? Let's dial this up to something more reasonable, like 1,700, 1,600, 1,700. We're not going to get the likes of Pedri, but let's get these people really strong in this area. So let's go to 8 successive actions per 90, defensive duels per 90. Let's dial up the defensive percentages to make sure that they're very, very good. And you can start to see certain players being filtered in and filtered out, right? And here's the concern for me. Wait a minute. Let me get back down to where it needs to be. In a nutshell, as you start to filter this stuff, this is the problem. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, this is what I was talking about on the show. When you start to just dial up these relatively small numbers, you can start putting the full passes up per 90 up towards 9.92. You can ask them to be more accurate with their passes up to 70%. You can move the progressive passes up to make sure they're doing at least 4 per 90, making sure the accuracy of them is bang up there. And this is the problem. All of the very best midfielders start to be filtered out. And guess who's number 2 on the list by market valuation, according to Transfer Market, of 45 million euros? It's Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Now, there's players here that I absolutely love to see. We're looking at Conor Gallagher. We've looked at Ibrahim Sangare last season. I personally thought Sangare was a really good fit last season as a squad player. He went to Forest. I think he's done pretty well. He had a few injuries. I think he's a really good player. And if he was in a better team, I think he would launch it. Ruben Neves, could you convince him to come back? I think Ruben Neves would be a wonderful player. Bruno Guimaraes, right? The Newcastle United defensive midfielder. Would you like to see him in? I would. But the problem is, for me, is that I sit there and I kind of go, all these other players, Conrad Lima, spoke about him a minute ago. Kakare from Lyonnais, wonderful, wonderful player. Look at the circle that we're working with over here on the right-hand side. Does a lot of great things. Manuel Locatelli, another player we spoke about on this channel. Zubamendi, right? There's loads of players, but what I find a little bit odd is that as you dial these up, and I won't do it for you now, but there's 62 players left out of 108. I basically dialed a lot of these up to as high as I thought was reasonable. And the one player, guys, that remained for the majority of the time was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And so my concern is a little bit as though perhaps we are overlooking the right midfielder. That's why I asked Pete and Brains earlier. They said, well, they knew I'd already showed them this backstage. They knew the answer was Højbjerg. I think that we need to try Højbjerg in that 6 role with Papsar in front of it. The only problem with Højbjerg is he's not pacey enough, and these statistics around what they do on the field doesn't like engage with how physically mobile you are. But as a statistical dilemma, when you start to dial in all of the things that you want or that I want in a 6, and you start to dial those ratios up, one of the names that continues to be there all the way down until you get to about the final 20, 30 is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So the player we want, we may already have. We just don't use him enough. I don't know, though. What's your thoughts? Let me know. We got a super chat here from Tom Martin saying everyone subscribe to Pay Sean's internet. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I'm now currently working off of my 5G, and I don't even know if that's working. Let me know if it's struggling, but it seems to be holding up right now. Danny says, Sean, what comes up for number 6 is what we want. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's loads of... I'll dial this... I can bring it back up again. There's so many... I made a list, basically. Here's a list of players that I looked at earlier on, and I was going to do a video on it, right? There's so many names on here, but this particular player, this guy, Amadou Haidara from Leipzig. Look at this guy. I'm sorry, I'm not even showing this on the screen, am I? 1 second. Let me get it back up for you. This guy, Amadou Haidara, plays for Leipzig. He's injured for a lot of the season, and he went away to Mali for the African Cup of Nations. But I've looked him out. I've checked him out on the Y Scout video tool, and he looks the absolute beast. Manuel Ugarte, PSG. Tottenham were linked to him all last year. He didn't go. I was talking about him for a season and a half. I love Manuel Ugarte. Gone to PSG. He's done well. Started slow, done very well in the end. You know, another player that's come up time and time again when I'm using my dialed up tools here, Doucouré from Crystal Palace. really think he is a player that we could be looking at. There's a young player called Mandela Keita who plays for Antwerp, Royal Antwerp, but he's on loan from a club called Leuven. This guy's 21 years old. Unbelievable. His stat. In fact, let me see if I can show you his stats. Because he's only worth about 3 or 4 million quid. So maybe that's the sort of player. Mandela Keita. Apparently he might be going to Manchester United, but I didn't know. I'd never heard of him before. Let's have a look at his FB refs. What am I doing here? Right, remember what we're looking for in this sort of player, right? I don't think we're going to get him. He's a youngster, but we're looking for a person who is wonderful at passing and wonderful at defense and plays in the 6. This guy looks incredible. Looks really, really good. Defensively, tackles per 90, top 93%. Tackles won, top 89%. Dribblers tackled, 94%. Tackles in the midfield third, which is where he'll be doing his work in a Tottenham system. Interceptions, 97th percentile. Tackles plus interceptions, 98th percentile. What's he like on the ball? Very, very good. Now, he's very good in the air as well. Really interesting player. Hadn't heard of him. Go and do your digging. Mandela Keita. Conrad Lima, I've already called out. Edison, I've already called out. We know we're linked with Edison, and I think that's the reason why. His stats on this system here are incredibly, incredibly impressive. This other guy here, this guy Palacios from Bayer Leverkusen, wonderful player from what I can see. Look at the size of that circle. He's in the top 10 or top 5 or 10 percentile for so many things. Mayence Kakare from Lyon, already spoken about him. Love that guy. Xavier Schlager from Leipzig, another player plays for Leipzig. Brilliant, brilliant player. Kefram Turam, Toyn Coopermines. If you're looking at Coopermines as a defensive midfielder, he can also play as a winger as well. Very utility. But I'll be doing a video on this, guys, with the kind of top 5 defensive midfielders that we can go for in the summer. But yeah, there's a few players in there that I like. But my question mark is, why is it that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg comes up really high up in all those statistics? And does that mean if you don't like Højbjerg, then does that kind of pour kind of salt over the whole concept of looking at the Y Scout and looking at stats? I personally think that if Højbjerg just had a little bit more pace, a little bit more mobility, Palacios, does that mean we can recycle our old shirts? 100%. 100%, Tom. Archie Gray, is that Archie Gray you're talking about there? Yeah, Archie Gray. I didn't see him on the list, to be honest, mate. But I'm sure he was on there. I just probably filtered him out at some point. Anyway, guys, Doucouré's got an ACL injury. Yeah, but he won't have next season. ACL is not normally the end of the world. They're a long time to recover from. But you don't often hear too many people. It's not like a hamstring injury that goes once it's gone once, it goes all the time. Right? ACLs are kind of, you can get better from them. Edison, 100%. Out of Basuma and PH is the most similar to McGregor at Celtic. 100% J-Mac, 100%. Anyway, let's buy this Højbjerg guy then. Exactly, Nicky boy. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. We need wingers more than a 6. Yeah, a lot of people think that. I think we do as well. I think we need wingers for sure. But I also think a midfielder that represents a little bit more solidarity at the back, just a bit more stability. I think Brains hit the nail on the head when he was talking about fluid rigidity. I remember saying that phrase all the bloody time at the start of the season. But yeah, we don't really have. I think we have a little bit too much fluidity, and I think you need sometimes you need a little bit of stability. But anyway, guys, it's gone on too long. Love you, subscribe, like, and all that stuff. And thanks to Brains and to Pete for coming on. It's not often I start a show with 3 and end it by myself. Apologies about the whole Wi-Fi slip, but yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for some more. We got, what's his name? We got Johnny back tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon. Johnny's back tomorrow afternoon. We'll do a show with him, and I might even throw up a walk and talk with Bugsy, because I know a lot of you like to see Bugsy. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, everybody. Bye.